Thank you for tuning in. I would like to present to you a call that came in from a theist on the 10th of October on the line, speaking to Matt Dillahunty and Jimmy Snow. And this caller is claiming that he has had supernatural experiences which align with the Bible, and that is his evidence for the existence of God. So let's go along and listen to the call. I'll comment on the way now and again, but mostly I'll be providing my evaluation at the end. It's a very interesting call. Please stay with it.
What I wanted to ask you was, I mean, what do you say to all these people around the world, including myself, that has like these testimonies of, you know, visions they've had, you know, literal encounters with Jesus, specifically Jesus, and also encounters that also line up with what the Bible says, irrespective of whether or not it lines up with what we deem to be normal or real.
Maz, the easiest way to do this exercise will be for you to offer us one of your experiences, and we can react to your experience. To just broadly say, what do you say to people who say they've had experiences? Different stuff based on the person, the religion, the experience.
Yeah, so, normally I say describe your experience and prove that your conclusion about the experience is right, because you've said things like, for example, in the call screen notes, it says you have proof that something breathed on you at your baptism. Well, yeah, I have proof. I have proof that something breathed on me at my baptism too. It was the preacher, because he was the closest entity, and he was breathing at the time that he dunked me under the water, and he was breathing when he raised me back up. So I have proof that somebody breathed on me at my baptism.
But I wish I was able to share it with you on like live now. I don't know how to do it. I mean, maybe you can. There's an email I can send you a link. But I know I was there in front of many witnesses, and I got out the water. This is one of loads of experiences.
I know I was there in front of many witnesses when I was baptized too. Why is it I can tell you? Why is it I can make the case for exactly what breathed on me, and you just wish you could?
Well, I actually have the videographic evidence. Like I said, I don't have anywhere of like sharing it.
The videographic evidence of what?
Of me getting out of the water, and you clearly hear a supernatural breath. It was not a human being. I was there.
How do you know? How do you know? How do you know that the breath you hear on your videotape is supernatural?
Because I was there in the water when I'd heard it, and it was a great, big, loud breath. I know.
No, sir. No, sir. Please, I'm asking a very specific question. Okay. I'm happy to assume that you have a videotape.
Just very quickly. Now, we're talking about maybe the 90s. And in those days, the video cameras that people had, as now, the microphone is actually embedded in the camcorder. The person is holding it. The person is breathing, and you can sometimes hear people breathing when they're using a camcorder, particularly with the primitive equipment we had in those days.
Of your baptism, and that on the videotape, one can hear a breath. How do you know? Let me finish my fucking question. How do you know that the breath was supernatural in origin?
Because I was there, and I know.
Well, I mean, he might have been there, but he was a baby and he wouldn't have any memory of that. Crazy.
Difference between a natural breath and a supernatural breath.
Really? How do you know the difference between a natural breath and a supernatural breath?
I would have to show you the video for you to understand.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Tell me how you specifically can tell the difference between a natural breath and a supernatural breath. And I ask this question because in the entire history of the world, no one has ever been able to identify or come up with a way to demonstrate anything supernatural at all. And you now say that you can tell the difference between a natural breath and a supernatural breath and have identified that this particular breath is supernatural. Prove it.
How do I prove that to you without showing you the video? All I have is my.
What could the video, Maz? What could the video possibly do to show me how you can tell the difference between a natural breath and a supernatural breath? What can the video possibly do?
Because you can clearly hear that breath sound. It is bloody loud.
No. Oh my God.
Maz. Does the videotape include the methodology for anyone to identify the difference between a natural breath and a supernatural breath?
I don't know if I'm not sure exactly what you mean. All I have to say is,
I know you're not sure because you don't fucking listen. How can anyone tell the difference on a videotape between a breath that is natural in origin and a breath that is supernatural in origin?
Wouldn't we need to have an example of a supernatural breath to know what one is like? What characteristics does it have? Do we have any such thing? I don't think so.
Methodology? What methodology? What fucking methodology? What? Stop trying to talk over me and wait till I'm fucking done. What method? I will hang up on you. You interrupt me one more fucking time. What method can someone use to tell the difference between a breath that is natural and a breath that is supernatural? What method? Go.
The only one I can come up with is if you watch the bloody video yourself.
Maz,
you don't understand what a fucking method is. Do you know what method can someone use to tell the difference between 2 inches and 5 inches?
What is it with your methods? I'm offering you evidence and you're just
No, sir, you're not, and you're not listening. What method can someone use to tell the difference between 2 inches and 5 inches?
Oh, for God's sake, just tell me your little answer. Go ahead.
A ruler?
We've got calls.
Hey, what method can someone use to tell the difference between someone who understands what a method is and someone who doesn't?
Okay, you've got your own understanding of what, like, you know, how you measure things, how you interpret things. I've tried to tell you, I'm not a theist.
I don't.
Okay, there we are. Yes, the caller seemed to believe that he was actually calling in with actual evidence that could convince Matt and Jimmy that this was a real supernatural breath, and that therefore somehow this is evidence for the existence of God. His problem is, as he said in the video, in his call, he said, "What is it with you and your methodologies?" And that's the whole root of his problem. He doesn't understand skepticism. He doesn't understand that if you've got a claim, a skeptic will try to create some doubt around that claim, and the burden of proof is on the person making the claim to remove the doubt of the skeptic by providing evidence, by providing a sufficient amount of evidence. Now, he said, you know, what is it with your methodology? I'm providing evidence. I've heard this from other theists who've called in and said, why won't you listen to me? You know, you asked for evidence and I'm giving it to you. No, they're not giving evidence. All they're doing is giving a claim. They're making a claim and they're not providing any evidence. They're providing a claim. The skeptic has got doubt, and they're not doing anything. They're not providing any convincing evidence to remove that doubt. So consequently, the claim fails. This is what he didn't understand. He doesn't understand what methodology is. He doesn't even understand basic methodology for really quite mundane determinations, like the difference between 2 inches and 5 inches. How do we determine what the difference is? That one is bigger than the other. You know, we can use a ruler to see what the difference is. He doesn't even understand that. And yet, he's making this big claim that sound on a videotape is a supernatural breath, when there's never been any confirmation that anything supernatural exists, breath or anything else. And that the most likely candidate explanation for there being a breath on this videotape is maybe a breath of the person that's holding the video camera, close proximity to the camcorder, and either yawned or just simply made a natural breath